Alright, let's finish things off here. Starting with the Montpassant Mysteries. Betrayal at Botheringham Manor. You are genius detective Albert Montpassant. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. You stand in the parlor, facing the dying fireplace. After 3 days of keen analysis and forensic cogitation, you have arrived at your conclusion. Behind you sit the gaggle of suspects, brought at your insistence to this final event. In a moment, the brutal murder of Lady Botheringham will finally be solved, for you will accuse the killer. We're gonna violently spin around. You turn upon the 4 suspects, already savoring the surprise on their faces as you reveal who among them is the killer. But just as you open your mouth, the parlor plunges into darkness. "Sacre bleu!" you exclaim. Screams and shouts, stamping and rushing. Nobody move! Nobody listens. Your moment is ruined, and in the fire's off glow you can see the face of the killer approaching you. We will defend ourselves. Too late. A sharp pain lances your heart and you fall. With the face of the culprit still flashing before your eyes, you die. Well, sure game. Too bad. Ah. So, we swap to the killer. Or maybe it's not the killer. We swap to a different character. You are Lucy Botheringham, top of your class, heirs of the manor, and all-round go-get-'em girl. The lights flicker back on, and you survey the scene in the parlor. At your feet lays the body of Inspector Montpassant. Gotta scream. That's what the lady's reaction is in horror movies, right? It's a little performative, and the room looks back at you eyes wide. The captain, service revolver already shaking in his hand, glares wildly about for the killer. After your scream, his fingers now tight on the trigger. Dangerous! Who else? Prudence Prudentia sits docile beneath the marble bust of her old friend, your dear departed mother. That weird old bat. And already by the drinks cabinet, your ne'er-do-well bastard half-brother and rival heir to the estate, Cavendish Barclay, tops up his scotch and water. "Bloody hell, Lucy," he says. "Do try to keep it together." "Everybody stay where you are," the captain shouts, the revolver swinging from person to person. "One of you is the murderer, and I'll be damned if I'm going to be next." "Brenda, nobody is to leave this room. Lock us in the parlor and don't unlock it until you hear from me." Brenda? Oh, you forgot about Brenda. She's just the help, and not the killer. Brenda shuffles from by the drinks cabinet and dutifully bows her way out of the room. You hear the key thump in the lock. "Now, as a captain in the Royal Marine Reserve, it is my duty to hold the fort until we figure out who just murdered the inspector." I guess we'll reason with the captain. Oh. No dice. You open your mouth, but the captain levels the gun at you. "I might have known you'd be the first to speak, Lucy." The captain stutters. The captain points the gun at you. "Hold still, I said." Good move. Boys always love to have the first word in everything. He narrows his eyes and lowers the gun. "Finally, a little decorum." Cavendish snorts. Is that Cavendish talking? It's not clear. God, he is such a muffin sometimes. Prudence Prudentia doesn't even look up from the handkerchief in her hand. How rude. "Yes." The captain wipes a hand across his face and looks suddenly older. "I must say we all could proceed with cooler heads, eh?" He lowers the gun. Situation resolved, just like they taught you in negotiation class. Wasn't finishing school useful? These choices seem more for flavor than anything. Now, the captain says, I propose we turn our attentions to unmasking the killer. I'll stand here with this gun to make sure nobody starts another rumpus. Cavendish chimes in. Any more rules we ought to explain, mutton chops? What a bore. Why, yes, young Cavendish. Military police protocol would recommend we pull anything we find on this central table. He gestures to the coffee table. Lucy, since you're the closest, be a dear and examine the inspector's body. Who's to say it wasn't him? I assume this is accusing the captain. But hey, let's check it out anyway. There's only one way out of this pickle, and that's to blooming well finish what Montpassant started. Let's solve this murder. Alright, look at the inspector. You kneel beside the inspector's body. His face, though very dead, still betrays a hint of French superiority. Blood peeks from his lapel, staining the starched dress shirt. Let's see. Close his eyes. He still doesn't think much of your methods. You kneel beside the inspector's body. Okay, that's the same text again. Check his pockets. His smoking jacket is smooth to the touch. The insides of the pocket are satin, though one has a spare scrap of lace. In the other you find a blue vial of something. You can't quite tell what it is. Why is the smoking jacket... Oh, smoking jacket. Okay. It's not smoking. I assume that's the... Okay, never mind. Alright, what is in this vial? You see powder clumping inside the vial. Ooh, what a pretty thing. Give it over to Auntie, won't you, sweets? Prudence Prudentia calls over from her seat, her frail hands grasping in the air. I'm sure you won't mind me just popping it on the coffee table, Prudence. The old biddy replies and huffs at her handkerchief again. A powder. You kneel beside the inspector's body. His face, though very dead, still says the same text. We inspect the wound. When you pull back the jacket and unbutton the inspector's darkening shirt. It's a small wound, but is puckering blood at quite a violent rate. A thin blade. You address the group. We're looking for a thin blade, and careful, is extremely sharp. Let's solve this murder. Check the room. The drinks cabinet. Antique marble varnished to perfection. What's the bottles? The whiff of booze off this thing. I really need to look at that punch bowl, Cav, you say. He looks at you with barely concealed disdain. As if we have a ready punch bowl, he groans. Isn't this a punch bowl? You ask. That's an ice bowl, pea-brain. He turns but stops when he sees what you see. Chunks of ice bobbing in a pool of red liquid. Blood. Or we say blood. These options are a little confusing. Well, it's definitely not punch. And reaching from the bowl like a grim lighthouse is the handle of an ice pick. Not to alarm anyone, but I found the murder weapon. Capital work, Lucy, stammers the captain. Let's solve this murder. Now that we found the murder weapon, it's time to narrow down the suspects. Wow, first try. Who was near the punch bowl for one? Well, Cavendish is too easy, isn't it? The bureau. Search the stationery. Nothing to see there. Is everything else just red herrings? Yeah, I'm gonna assume so. Under the sofa? Your hands reach around in the dark, finding nothing. Hang on, this feels a bit odd. The wiring from the lamp is all tangled up. Untangle the wires. Your fingers probe the coppery knots. I say, I could use a little light down here. Prudence tosses a lighter, an ornate silver lighter, to you. You strike it and quickly make sense of the jumbled wires. It looks like someone has rewired the lamp to connect to another light as well. Might as well see where the stray wire leads. Follow the electrical cable. Everybody ready, you ask? Lights out. You flick the lamp off, and just as you expected, the room is plunged into darkness. Spooky. The room glows with incandescence. So this explains how the murderer could turn the lights off without being by the door. But who was nearest to the lamp? And who rigged this cunning trap? An electrician's receipt might provide a clue. Alright, we found the murder. Let's check the bookcase. That's the last thing we have to check. The ornaments have trophies, medals, and what's this? Dickens, Wilkie Collins, The Odyssey, original Greek. Alright, nothing to see here, I suppose. Well, we'll start with Cavendish. Hold on, did I do it? Okay, not even gonna grace that with a response, I see. Well, let's check Cavendish. Cavendish looks down his nose at you. I was here drinking my scotch the whole time. Right beside the ice bowl. Certainly, he retorts. But I've been drinking scotch, and one never puts ice in a good scotch. Besides, someone can bring you ice. It's not like we live in the Stone Age. He takes another sip. Alright, well, let's check Prudence. We don't know anything about her. Hello, dear. I don't know what voice that is. Did you have any cause to visit the ice bowl this evening, Prudence? You ask. Darling, how could I possibly drink this delightful ginsling without some freshly chipped ice? It's not enough to peg her for it yet. Thanks, Prudence. What a horrible business. And then the captain. Wait, okay, there was no dialogue for the captain. That was odd. Alright. What else is there to see then? We haven't investigated everything in the drinks cabinet? No. The bureau, we haven't. Yeah, the receipt. Bingo! You bring the receipt over to the table and search for the co-signature. There at the bottom, someone has written, Prudence Prudentia, you shout. She nearly falls from her chair. What? Time for some answers. We will confront Prudence. You were sitting near the lamp. You signed the electrician's receipt. And you can still run the 100 meters in less than 10 seconds, which is easily enough time to kill Inspector Montpassant, return the ice pick to the ice bowl, and sit back down again. Prudence crumbles in her seat, falling. She's going away for a long, long time. It wasn't me, she wails. Yes, I signed the electrician's receipt. Ethel had just died. I hardly thought to question it. And I couldn't have poor Lucy being bothered by that coarse young man, complaining about being ordered around by the help. And there's nothing wrong with keeping in shape, or with sitting by a lamp. Since they changed from gas to this electricity nonsense, I hardly know how to use one anyway. And I could never hurt somebody. Never. Keep eyeballing her. She'll snap soon enough. All right. It was I, poor miserable I, who killed sweet Ethel. The room chills with silence. Even the walls seem to be listening. I never meant it. I only wanted to console her with a brief dab of my lovely laudanum. She holds up the handkerchief she's been sniffling all night. Ethel had a lovely time on it as well. We talked for hours and hours, and then she drifted off so peacefully, thanking me even. I couldn't believe it in the morning when they said she was dead. Why kill the inspector? That's what I'm saying. I didn't. I was sat here the entire time sniffling at my happy hanky. I can hardly stand, I've huffed so much. Whoa. Crazy old lady. It was Prudence. It's got to be. The door unlocks with a heavy clunk and creaks open. It was the help. It's always the help. Oh, a broken image link. Let's see if we can open that up. Unfortunately, that link doesn't seem to work. The door unlocks with a heavy clunk and creaks open. There stands Brenda, the help, her white lace pinny tied neatly over her black service uniform. She clicks her shoes soundlessly together. Then why is it a click? And did you solve the murders in the end, dears? You tilt your head to the side. Someone can bring you ice, the help, a spare scrap of lace. Prudence said the electrician resented being bossed by the help. You narrow your eyes. Someone can bring you ice. Brenda had ample time to move unobserved to the drinks cabinet. One more thought. A spare scrap of lace. The inspector held a scrap of lace, perhaps found in the victim's bedroom. Got it! You shout. You wheel your arm overhead like a cricket bowler, pointing your finger squarely at Brenda. J'accuse Brenda. There's 4 of you and 1 of her. Somehow you've kept this room alive, Lucy Botheringham, and your reward is an easy victory. Brenda barely puts up a fight. Though at your mercy she refuses to talk, which does irk you somewhat. The police will extract the confession in time, but all you know is that Botheringham Manor is safe once more. Inspector Montpassant would be quite proud. The end. That is a very cute story. Not much in terms of wrenching narrative, but not what one would expect from a Game Jam game anyway. Besides the whole Montpassant immediately dying and being replaced, not much to do with the theme, but that's not a big deal. Worth it for the fun story. I like the writing style a lot. Let us see what we have left.